Welcome back. You are in the PolitBureau. Let's unpack the rest of the week's big political stories now. And this is the segment, where we bring in some of your viewer perspectives. But before we get to our main topic of discussion, I want to let Dr. Mafamadi finish his point. You were making a point there about what came out of the SACP's Imbizo.
Yes, and I was saying, you see, the people of South Africa have been subjected to a torrent of political misjudgments, one of which was the Nkandla debacle, which ended up in the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court took the view that Parliament acted in ways which were unbecoming of it. Now, which then means that there is a trust gap that is developing between the people and our parliamentary system. Now, Parliament has a responsibility to reconnect what Aubrey calls the popular will with the parliamentary system itself. So it's not a question of who is voting with who. It's a question of what responsibility are public representatives willing to take in order to restore the integrity of the parliamentary system. Right,
let's move with the conversation now. So state capture is front and center once again, following former Mineral Resources Minister Ngwako Ramatlhodi's bombshell allegations.
What Dr. Mngambi said, let me quote, take off the licenses of Glencore so that they can pay the 2 billion that they owe Eskom. Take the license. I said, how do I take the license? He said, shut them down, all of them. I said, but we are in the middle of power outages. How do we do that? He then say, you are the minister, you've got the power.
So Ranjani, what did you make of all of this? I mean, of course, it's been denied by Ben Ngubane, but it just keeps stacking up in terms of these allegations, which, of course, we've not been able to test to their fullest because of this Judicial Commission of Inquiry situation.
I think that the allegations are now so immense. And I think that there is a level of public fatigue with this being so much to have to deal with in terms of what went on with the state capture that there's actually no way to process it anymore. We cannot see the tentacles of where this starts and finishes. And we know that Eskom seems to now be at the center of these allegations. It was used not as a power utility, but as a feeding trough. For this network of people who are running this capture operation, and it is an operation. It's a continuing operation, and clearly that the revelations that have been exposed have not stopped it, and that's the danger. And I think that the cabinet reshuffle and the return of Brian Molefe to Eskom shows that this is a continuing operation.
In fact, I want to bring you in just now, Aubrey, but actually you are saying that we've not seen the full extent of it. One of the things that has happened is that the clergy, that is the South African Council of Churches, had their own investigation and got people to come forward in what they were calling the unburdening process. Listen to what Bishop Mpumlwana said about the extent of state capture.
A careful analysis makes the case for the following observable trends of inappropriate control of state systems through a power elite that is pivoted around the President of the Republic, that is systemically siphoning the assets of the state.
Aubrey, your thoughts? It seems people didn't respond as much when the ANC called for them to come forward. Gwede says only 8 came forward, but it seems they went to the confessional.
Well, Ranjani says that we do not see all the tentacles of what we call state capture. There's a very good reason why. The first reason is that our conception of state capture is quite narrow. It has been narrowed down to the Guptas or to white capital, depending on who you oppose or support. And therefore, the reason why you don't see all the tentacles is because there are tentacles you do not want to see, and there are tentacles you want to see. So that's the first problem. And the second problem is that because of that, there are two terms that are being denuded of meaning, as far as I'm concerned. The first is state capture, and the second one is fake news. Because what they do is to oversimplify complex problems and complex issues. And they become substitute for rigorous argument and debate about this phenomenon of state capture. That is not the same as saying that state capture does not exist. It does exist. It existed from 1994. It existed before 1994. But I think the specific allegation being made now is that under Jacob Zuma, state capture has become quite a corrosive phenomenon. And I think the specific allegation is that the president himself has been captured.
Dr. Mafamadi, I want to bring you in just now, but let's take a listen, because here on the PolitBureau, we welcome your inputs. So let's take a listen to one of the WhatsApp video messages that we did receive on this subject.
One, the coming back of Brian Molefe, it is totally wrong, because it is a fact that Brian Molefe resigned. He was not forced, but he voluntarily resigned. Therefore, that space needs to be re-advertised, and the people, we believe that out of 52 million people in South Africa, there are skillful people who can fill that post and do better, not being captured by any Guptas. So Brian Molefe must simply leave Eskom as he has resigned peacefully.
Dr. Mafamadi, as you can hear, our viewers are linking the two issues, state capture and the return of Brian Molefe. What do you make of it?
They are absolutely right in doing so, because if you take the allegations that Mwakura Matlodi makes, the allegations made by Mcebisi Jonas earlier on, and the problems around Eskom and Brian Molefe, what all these things suggest is that our system of government has been turned now into a criminal's paradise. It has become a system in which bribes and corruption have become trump cards for self-enrichment. Now, the deployment to Parliament by the ANC of Brian Molefe at a time when he was still saying that he wants to cleanse his name, and redeploying him back into Eskom before that could happen suggests that you have a leadership which does not want to set the right tone from the top.
Ranjani, I'm going to give you the final say on this matter. What are your concluding thoughts? Is this not just people who are sort of bitter that we are outside of what's happening, the center stage of what's happening in politics, who are now making all these allegations and claims?
I think the South African Council of Churches is correct that we are living under a mafia state. And I think that there is a level of desperation now which makes the situation dangerous. I think the return of Brian Molefe to Eskom is because they are desperate to reinstall somebody there who can keep the contracts running and who can open up a gateway to that nuclear deal. And I think that the situation is extremely precarious, and it requires activism from all sections of society to stop that happening.
On that note, let me thank you very much for coming through, Ranjani Munusami, Aubrey Machikwi, and Dr. Sydney Mafamadi. After the break, I fixed the Brian Molefe problem, says Lynn Brown. But did she really?